The crystalline spires of the Delphidian Council chamber shimmered under the light of 3 moons as Ambassador Vrisk collapsed into his seat. His tentacles trembled as he replayed the transmission that had arrived just hours ago. "Is this accurate?" asked Counselor Murithra, her feathered crest flattening against her skull in alarm. "Verified through 17 independent observation posts," Vrisk confirmed. "The humans destroyed the entire Corellian battle fleet, not captured, not disabled, destroyed." The chamber erupted in panicked chatter. The Corellians had been the undisputed military power in the galaxy for 12 millennia. Their technology was centuries beyond what the primitive Earth vessels appeared to possess. Yet somehow, the humans had obliterated the fleet in under 6 minutes. Admiral Pix slammed, his exoskeletal limb against the table. "Impossible! The Corellians had quantum-shielded dreadnoughts. The humans' technology is barely interstellar." "That's what makes this so disturbing," Vrisk said, his outer membrane darkening with stress pigments. "We've been monitoring Earth since they achieved spaceflight. Nothing suggested they possessed such capabilities." The classified footage played again on the chamber's central projection. The Corellian Armada, 47 ships strong, moved into Earth orbit with weapons charged, demanding immediate planetary surrender. Standard procedure for expanding the Corellian Empire. Then came the response from Earth. "We decline your generous offer." What followed defied explanation. The human vessels, previously thought primitive and negligible, executed maneuvers that violated known physics. Space itself seemed to bend around their ships. The Corellian fleet fired, but their energy weapons dispersed harmlessly. Then, methodically, each human vessel targeted a Corellian ship with a beam of something. Not energy. Not matter. The targeted ships simply ceased to exist, leaving behind only a faint echo of radiation. "Where did they get this technology?" hissed Counselor Ezrit. "They showed nothing like this during our observation period." Intelligence Officer Lanix stepped forward, her compound eyes reflecting the holographic display. "Our working theory is that they were aware of our surveillance all along. They deliberately maintained a facade of technological inferiority." "But why?" asked Murithra. Admiral Pix's exoskeleton clicked nervously. "Because they were expecting us, or someone like us. They wanted to be underestimated." The room fell silent as the implications settled in. Humanity hadn't just defeated the Corellian fleet. They had executed a strategic deception on a galactic scale. Vrisk pulled up another file. "We intercepted this transmission from their global communications network shortly after the engagement." Room filled with the voice of Earth's Defense Command. "Operation Maginot Deception complete. Phase 1 successful. All personnel returned to standard alert status. The galaxy now knows we're not to be trifled with." Counselor Ezrit's mandibles quivered. "They named their operation after an ancient defensive line that failed. That's disturbing." "Intelligence." Officer Lanix nodded grimly. "Because this Maginot didn't fail, and because they want us to research the reference and understand the psychological warfare at play." Admiral Pix stood addressing the Council with uncharacteristic solemnity. "The humans have revealed only a fraction of their capabilities, and only because they were forced to. We must assume they possess even more advanced technologies in reserve." Vrisk felt the weight of history pressing down on him. "We face an unprecedented situation. For the first time in galactic memory, we have encountered a species that was prepared for first contact. Not just prepared, they were waiting for it." The Council chamber fell silent as the final moments of the encounter replayed. After destroying the Corellian fleet, the human vessels had resumed their previous positions. Their final transmission was brief. "To any watching powers, Earth is open to peaceful diplomatic relations. We hope this demonstration makes negotiation preferable to the alternative. We need to form a united response," Murithra said finally. "For the first time in our history, all galactic factions must stand together." "Against humans?" asked Ezrit. Vrisk's tentacles coiled anxiously. "With them or against them? That is what we must decide. The neutral space station Harmonium hadn't hosted all 7 major galactic powers simultaneously in over 3 centuries. Now the vast circular chamber accommodated representatives from every spacefaring civilization, except Earth. Grand Administrator Kovacs surveyed the assembled delegates. With 4 of his 7 eyes, "Let us be clear about what we face," he began, his translator converting his ultrasonic speech to standard frequencies. "The humans have accomplished what none believed possible. They have technologically leapfrogged established galactic progression patterns." General Morva of the Zrelgarian Defense Force stepped forward, her chitinous armor reflecting the chamber's ambient light. "Our analysis suggests their technology operates on principles we've deemed theoretically impossible. They're utilizing dimensional phasing that shouldn't be accessible to a civilization at their development stage." "Perhaps they had help," suggested diplomat Ilorix of the Feeder Confederation, his gelatinous form pulsing with skepticism. "No evidence supports external intervention," responded Intelligence Director Jem from her hovering platform. "We've reviewed 5,000 years of Earth's history. Their technological progression appears natural, if accelerated in the last century." "Natural?" barked Admiral Oryx. "Nothing is natural about their advancement curve. They went from combustion engines to dimensional manipulation in under 200 years. Scientist Commander Neryl's long, spindly fingers manipulated the central hologram, displaying Earth's technological progression chart. Our models failed to account for one critical factor: competition. Humans organize into rival nation-states that compete technologically. Their advancement isn't driven by need or curiosity alone, but by internal rivalry." The revelation sent murmurs through the chamber. Most galactic civilizations had unified under single governance structures before achieving spaceflight. The concept of competing factions driving technological advancement within a species was unsettling. "This explains much," said Kovacs thoughtfully. "They've been forged in the crucible of internal conflict, perfecting technologies for advantage over their own kind. And now they can turn those advantages against us," added Morva grimly. Intelligence Director Jem projected a new image: Earth's solar system, now surrounded by a network of defensive platforms. Sensors indicate these installations possess the same dimensional technology used against the Corellians. They've established a perimeter that would be nearly impossible to penetrate. "What of diplomacy?" asked Ilorix. Their message suggested openness to peaceful relations. Kovacs gestured with his primary appendages. "Yes, but on what terms? They hold technological superiority, yet claim to desire equality. History suggests this rarely ends well for the disadvantaged party." "We have no choice but to negotiate," said Neryl. "A military solution is not viable," Admiral Oryx bristled. "The combined might of all our civilizations would be insufficient," interrupted Jem flatly. "Our models give even a united assault less than 7% success probability, and that assumes the humans have shown us everything they have. Prudence suggests they haven't." Diplomat Ilorix's form rippled with anxiety. "What do they want? Territorial expansion? Resources, technological exchange?" "Unknown," admitted Jem. "Their psychology differs significantly from established sentient patterns. They exhibit paradoxical traits: intense tribalism, yet capable of remarkable cooperation; aggressive, yet sentimental; logical, yet frequently irrational." "Then we must learn more," declared Kovacs. "I propose a diplomatic mission, not representatives from each faction. They would exploit our differences, but a unified delegation with a single voice." "Unprecedented," muttered Oryx. "As is the situation," countered Kovacs. "For the first time in galactic history, we face a species that may surpass our collective capabilities. Unity is our only logical response." Scientist Commander Neryl's eyes narrowed. "Before we proceed, we should address the question none have asked. How did humans achieve this technological breakthrough? Our surveillance protocols are rigorous, yet they concealed this capability completely." Silence fell across the chamber as the implications became clear. Either our surveillance has been compromised, said Intelligence Director Jem slowly, or the humans possess counterintelligence capabilities beyond our understanding. Both possibilities are deeply troubling, noted Ilorix. Admiral Oryx's expression darkened. There is a third possibility. What if they didn't develop this technology at all? What if they discovered it? The chamber erupted in concerned chatter. Ancient technology was strictly regulated under galactic law with good reason. Lost civilizations had left behind artifacts of immense power and danger. If humans found precursor technology, began Kovacs, unable to finish the thought, then everything we thought we knew about the balance of power has changed, completed Morva grimly. And we need to establish contact immediately. Rain pelted the windows of the United Earth Diplomatic Center. In Geneva, as Ambassador Alara Voss reviewed the final security protocols. In 20 minutes, humanity would host its first official delegation from the newly formed Galactic Concord, an unprecedented alliance of 7 previously competing alien civilizations. They're scared, observed Defense Minister Ryuji, watching the approaching Concord vessel on the tracking display. 7 species that have been at each other's throats for millennia, suddenly holding hands. Ilara nodded, adjusting her formal uniform. At 42, she had never expected to become humanity's first representative to multiple alien species. Fear can be useful but dangerous. We need to thread the needle carefully. The quantum secure communication system chimed. Admiral Caldwell reports defensive grid at full capacity, announced Security Director Novak. Harmonic scramblers are active. If they're scanning us, they're getting exactly what we want them to see. And the Sentinel protocol? Asked Ilara. On standby. If anything goes wrong, we can activate it within 3.7 seconds. Ryuji frowned. Let's hope it doesn't come to that. The alien vessel, sleek and constructed of materials that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light, settled into the designated landing area. Unlike the aggressive approach of the Corellians, this ship maintained precisely to the agreed coordinates. Atmospheric analysis complete, reported the system. No detected contaminants or weapon signatures. Ilara straightened her shoulders. Open the reception bay. The delegation that emerged consisted of 5 representatives, each from a different species. Leading them was a tall, crystalline being whose translucent body refracted light in hypnotic patterns. Ambassador Voss had communicated through an advanced translator. I am Concord Emissary Zelith. We come seeking understanding. Ilara performed the formal Earth greeting. Welcome to Earth, Emissary. We are honored to host the Galactic Concord. The diplomatic chambers had been designed specifically for this moment. Neutral territory with environmental accommodations for dozens of potential physiologies. As they settled into the conference formation, Ilara noted the careful positioning of the alien representatives. Despite their claim of unity, old rivalries were evident in their body language. Your demonstration against the Corellian fleet was impressive, began Zilith. And concerning. Ilara maintained professional composure. The Corellians demanded our immediate surrender and threatened planetary bombardment. We responded proportionally. A gelatinous entity pulsed with colored light, their species equivalent of a scoff. Proportional would have been disabling their vessels. You eliminated them from existence. We eliminated their vessels, corrected Ilara calmly. Their escape pods were untouched. We understand 94% of personnel survived. This information caused visible surprise among the delegation. Clearly, their intelligence was incomplete. The insectoid representative clicked forward. Your technological capabilities exceed all predictive models for your development stage. The Conquered must understand how this occurred. Here it was, the question humanity had prepared for decades to answer. Ilara nodded to Security Director Novak, who activated the presentation system. Humanity's path differs from galactic standard models in one fundamental way, Ilara explained. For most of our technological history, we were unaware we were being observed. The holographic display showed surveillance satellites of alien design, clandestinely positioned throughout Earth's solar system over centuries. When we detected the first observation post in 2047, we made a strategic decision. Rather than destroy it, we would control the information it received. The delegation shifted uncomfortably as Alara continued. For 78 years, we've maintained two technological tracks. The visible one your civilizations monitored and our actual capabilities. The Corellian incident forced us to reveal a fraction of the latter. Impossible, objected the reptilian delegate. Our surveillance systems are undetectable. Ruji smiled thinly. Yet here we are. Emissary Xylith's crystalline form darkened slightly. What are humanity's intentions toward the established galactic community? Peace. Trade. Cultural exchange, Alara said simply. We have no territorial ambitions beyond our solar system. We seek only security and recognition as equals. Equals? The gelatinous representative pulsed incredulously. Your technology appears to surpass our own. In some areas, acknowledged Alara. In others, we have much to learn. That is the basis for mutually beneficial relations. The insectoid leaned forward. And if we decline these relations? Then we continue as we have been, developing independently, within our borders. But we would consider that outcome regrettable. As the delegation conferred among themselves in encrypted communications they believed secure, Alara received a discreet notification through her neural implant. Earth's quantum systems had already decrypted their exchange. They were discussing whether humanity possessed the precursor artifacts they feared, and whether a preemptive joint strike might be necessary. Alara cleared her throat. Emissary Xylith, we understand your concerns about precursor technology. Let me be clear. Earth has developed its capabilities independently. We possess no artifacts from ancient civilizations. The delegation froze in shock at this direct acknowledgement of their private communication. However, continued Alara smoothly, your concern highlights the need for transparency between our civilizations. Perhaps we could begin by discussing the 17 precursor sites currently under conquered jurisdiction. In the secure depths beneath the Geneva Diplomatic Center, Project Director Imani Rhodes stared at the imposing artifact suspended in its containment field. 16 meters tall, composed of an unknown alloy that defied material analysis, the object had been recovered from beneath the Antarctic ice sheet in 2039. Status? She asked, not taking her eyes off the gently pulsing blue light emanating from the artifact's core. Chief Scientist Vikram adjusted the monitoring equipment. Stable, but activity increased 12% since the alien delegation landed. It's responding to their presence. Imani's expression remained neutral. Upstairs, Ambassador Voss was officially denying the existence of exactly what they were studying. A necessary deception. The aliens were hiding their own precursor discoveries after all. The Corellian destruction served its purpose, remarked Security Coordinator Lazio from his monitoring station. The technology we reversed engineered from this thing gave us exactly the demonstration we needed. At what cost? Asked Vikram. Quietly. 47 ships, over 3,000 lives. They would have bombarded Earth without hesitation, Lazio replied flatly. This was the minimum show of force required to establish deterrence. Imani approached the artifact, stopping at the safety perimeter. Unlike the other 12 precursor objects recovered globally, this one had been partially activated. The dimensional, phasing technology that had so shocked the galactic community represented only a fraction of what their research suggested the artifact could do. Ambassador Voss is telling the delegation we developed everything ourselves, said Imani. Technically not a lie. We did develop the applications, even if the underlying principles came from this. The central chamber door slid open as Director General Ortiz entered, his face grim. The neural feed from the diplomatic session is troubling. The conquered suspects? Of course they do, replied Imani. Their civilizations have been studying precursor technology for thousands of years with minimal progress. We make breakthroughs in decades. They know something doesn't add up. Ortiz approached the artifact, studying its enigmatic surface patterns. There's another problem. The Zrelgarian delegate recognized Ambassador Voss. Impossible, said Lazio, sharply. Her identity was fabricated specifically for this mission. Not her identity, clarified Ortiz. Her genetic signature. Apparently the Zrelgarians encountered humans before, 50,000 years ago. A profound silence fell over the chamber. That's not possible, Vikram finally said. Homo sapiens didn't exist in recognizable form that far back. Unless, said Imani slowly, looking at the artifact with new understanding. What we've assumed about human evolution is wrong. Ortiz nodded grimly. The Zrelgarian historical records describe beings identical to modern humans who vanished suddenly. They called them the Forerunners. Lazio's security console flashed an alert. Director, the artifact's energy signature just spiked 40%. It's reacting to this conversation. Or to the revelation, murmured Imani. It's processing information. It always has been. The blue glow intensified and previously dormant patterns on the artifact's surface began to illuminate in sequence. Should we evacuate? Asked Vikram tensely. No, said Ortiz, staring transfixed at the activation sequence. This is what we've been waiting for. The artifact isn't just technology. It's trying to communicate. Imani stepped closer than safety. Protocols permitted. The phasing technology, the dimensional manipulation, they weren't weapons, they're tools, components of something larger. Sudden realization dawned on Vikram's face. The dimensional phasing we used against the Corellians, we thought it was disintegration, but what if it was transportation? What if we didn't destroy their ships but sent them somewhere? The artifact's glow now filled the chamber as patterns, resolved into what unmistakably resembled star charts, but with celestial arrangements no human astronomer would recognize. Another galaxy? Whispered Lazio. Another time, corrected Imani. The precursors weren't alien at all. They were us, humanity, from the future creating a temporal loop. Ortiz's secure communicator chimed urgently. Ambassador Voss needs to know what we've discovered. The Concord delegation is proposing a mutual defense pact against the Forerunner threat. They think we're the vanguard of an invasion from the past. Imani couldn't tear her eyes from the artifact as its light synchronized with her heartbeat. Tell her the truth. Tell her that humanity didn't find precursor technology. We created it, or we will create it. The artifact pulsed once more, then projected a three-dimensional image of Earth, not as it existed now, but Earth as it might appear thousands of years in the future, surrounded by a vast energy lattice connecting to similar structures around distant stars. My God, breathed Vikram, it's not a weapon, it's a blueprint. The Galactic Concord emergency session convened in orbit above Jupiter, neutral territory by hastily negotiated agreement. Representatives from all 7 major powers faced the Earth delegation across the transparent meeting platform, the gas giant's swirling storms providing a dramatic backdrop. Supreme Commander Nix of the Zrelgarian fleet addressed the assembly, his exoskeleton clicking nervously. The evidence is irrefutable. The genetic markers match our ancient records perfectly. These humans are identical to the Forerunners who vanished from our historical records. Earth's delegation, now led by Director General Ortiz rather than Ambassador, Voss remained impassive. We have shared our findings in good faith, Ortiz stated calmly. Yes, the artifact we discovered suggests a connection between modern humans and what you call Forerunners. But we are not invaders from the past. We evolved on Earth, just as your scientific observations confirmed. The arthropoid representative from the Keton hegemony vibrated with agitation. Then explain the temporal anomalies our sensors detected in your solar system. Explain how your technology mirrors Forerunner principles our scientists have studied for millennia without comprehension. Ilara Voss, now serving as scientific liaison, activated a holographic display. The temporal anomalies are side effects of the artifact's activation. As for the technology, we didn't fully understand it ourselves until recently. She displayed the complex multidimensional equations that had been decoded from the artifact's surface. This isn't a weapon design or invasion plan, it's a blueprint for a galactic transportation network. a system designed to connect civilizations across vast distances without the limitations of conventional space travel. Convenient, rumbled the Dram Collective representative. You expect us to believe these forerunners were benevolent builders, not conquerors? Director Kef of Conquered Intelligence analyzed the equations. The mathematics are consistent with theoretical work on stable wormhole creation. If implemented, this network could indeed revolutionize interstellar travel. Or, countered Admiral Oryx, it could allow instantaneous deployment of military assets anywhere in the galaxy, a perfect invasion infrastructure. Ortiz sighed. If humanity wanted galactic domination, we would have continued developing our technologies in secret. Instead, we're sharing everything we've learned. The Fedar diplomat's translucent form pulsed skeptically. After demonstrating your willingness to annihilate an entire fleet. A fleet that threatened our homeworld with extinction, Ilara responded sharply. And, as we've now confirmed, the Corellian vessels weren't destroyed. They were transported. Our scientists believe they're intact in a dimensional pocket. We're working to retrieve them. This revelation sent shockwaves through the Concord delegation. Emissary Zilith stepped forward. If true, this changes everything. But it also raises more questions about the true nature of this transportation network. What evidence do we have of its purpose? Ortiz nodded to Ilara, who activated the artifact's recorded message. A complex sequence of images showing diverse species connected through the network, sharing resources and knowledge. The mathematical models indicate this network requires cooperation, explained Ilara. No single species could build or maintain it alone. The power requirements and technological expertise demand collaboration on an unprecedented scale. Grand Administrator Kolvac studied the projection carefully. This network, if built, would fundamentally alter the balance of power in the galaxy. All current strategic doctrines would become obsolete. Precisely, said Ortiz. Which is why we're proposing a joint development initiative. Equal participation, equal access, equal responsibility. Admiral Oryx bristled. You control the artifact. You've already mastered elements of its technology that we've studied fruitlessly for centuries. Because, Ilara explained patiently, the artifact was designed to be activated by human neural patterns. It responds to us because it was created for us, by our distant descendants. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Supreme. Commander Nix finally spoke. So the Forerunners didn't vanish. They returned to Earth in your distant past, planted the seeds of your civilization, then, what? Died out? Transcended? We don't know, admitted Ortiz. But we believe they created a time loop, ensuring humanity would eventually discover the artifacts and continue the cycle. The Dram representative rumbled deeply. This is too convenient, too perfect. Why would these advanced beings create such an elaborate scheme spanning millennia? Director Kef's many eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of deep thought in his species. Perhaps because the alternative was extinction. Perhaps they, you, faced a threat so grave that rewriting history was the only solution. Ilara exchanged glances with Ortiz. They had reached the same conclusion in their private analysis but had been reluctant to share it without evidence. If that's true, said Emissary Zilith, then this network may be more than transportation. It may be a defense system against some future extinction-level threat. All the more reason for cooperation, urged Ortiz. Whatever the Forerunners, our descendants, were preparing for, they designed a solution that requires multiple species working together. Grand Administrator Kolvac's crystalline form resonated with decision. We require proof. If the Corellian fleet can indeed be recovered intact, that would demonstrate both your technological claims and your peaceful intentions. Ortiz nodded, solemnly. We'll bring them back. Together. As the emergency session adjourned, Admiral Oryx approached Ilara privately. Even if everything you've said is true, Ambassador, you must understand our caution. History is littered with species who believed they were destined for greatness, usually just before their collapse. Ilara studied the Admiral thoughtfully. Perhaps that's why the Forerunners created this loop, not for dominance but to break the cycle of rise and fall, for all species. A noble sentiment, replied Oryx. But remember this, the moment we believe your intentions or otherwise, the conquered will strike with everything we have, united against Earth. Then we'll have to ensure our actions prove our words, said Alara calmly. Because the alternative benefits no one. The recovered Corellian flagship drifted in Earth orbit, its crew in suspended animation, preserved perfectly in the dimensional pocket where they had been transported. On its bridge, Captain Everick of the Corellian Imperial Forces awoke with a start, disoriented and confused. Easy, Captain, said Dr. Nayala Hassan, her medical scanner monitoring his vital signs. You've been in temporal suspension for approximately 3 standard weeks. Everick's compound eyes darted around the bridge, taking in the mixed group of humans and representatives from various conquered species. What happened? The last thing I remember, we were preparing to subjugate Earth. Admiral Oryx stepped forward. Your fleet encountered technology beyond your understanding. You're fortunate to be alive. The others? Demanded Everick. All recovered, explained Dr. Hassan. You're the first we've revived, as protocol dictates speaking with the commanding officer. Everick struggled to process this information. You defeated us, then saved us. Why? Director General Ortiz answered calmly. Because that's not who we are. That's not who any of us should be. The explanation that followed, about the Forerunner artifact, the transportation network, and the unprecedented alliance forming between Earth and the Galactic conquered, left the Corellian captain speechless. You expect me to believe humanity possesses the legacy of the Forerunners? The shapers of galaxies? Everick finally scoffed. Grand Administrator Kolvax rippled with amusement. I shared your skepticism, Captain. Then I witnessed humans retrieve your entire fleet from dimensional stasis, something our combined scientific knowledge deemed impossible. 6 months after, the first diplomatic contact, the Joint Galactic Initiative, had grown beyond anyone's expectations. In the vast construction facility orbiting Saturn, engineers from 12 species now collaborated on the first node of what would become the Interstellar Transportation Network Ilara. Voss observed the construction from the observation deck of the Unity Station, the first truly multi-species habitat in Earth's solar system. Beautiful, isn't it? Said Director Kef, gliding up beside her on his gravity platform. In my 500 years, I never imagined seeing Zrelgarians and Fedar working side by side. Progress comes from necessity, replied Alara. We've all seen what isolation and competition brought us. Millennia of technological stagnation and conflict. Kef's many eyes blinked thoughtfully. Yet it took humanity, so young compared to our civilizations, to break the cycle. There's something humbling in that. On the main engineering deck below, Chief Engineer Vikram coordinated with his alien counterparts as they calibrated the massive dimensional resonators. The technology that had once terrified the galaxy as a weapon now formed the foundation of the most ambitious engineering project in known history. Field stability at 97%, reported the DRAM engineer, her gravelly voice filled with unusual excitement. The mathematics are proving correct. Initiating test sequence, responded Vikram. Dimensional aperture in 3, 2, 1. Between the massive resonator arrays, space itself seemed to fold inward, creating a shimmering doorway of blue-white energy. Through it, visible with perfect clarity, was the corresponding test facility in the Fedar home system, 16 light-years away. Cheers erupted from engineering teams across species as the first stable wormhole connection in known history maintained its integrity. Centuries of theoretical physics had become reality in less than a year of collaborative work. In the secure research facility beneath Geneva, Imani Rhodes watched the successful test with mixed emotions. The artifact that had started everything continued to reveal its secrets, including a disturbing temporal map that had recently been decoded. They need to know, said Security Coordinator Lazio, studying the same data. If these predictions are accurate, we have less than 2 centuries. Imani nodded grimly. The network isn't just for transportation. It's a shield, a galactic defensive grid against something coming from outside the galaxy itself. On her display, the temporal projection showed a massive dark anomaly approaching the Milky Way, something that would arrive in approximately 180 years, consuming everything in its path. "This is why the time loop was created," murmured Imani. "The Forerunners, our descendants, faced this threat and couldn't defeat it, so they sent the knowledge back, giving us centuries of preparation they never had." "Should we inform the conquered?" asked Lazio. "Not yet," decided Imani. "First, we need to complete the initial network, establish trust. If we reveal this too soon, fear might fracture the alliance before it's strong enough." Across the solar system, the recovery operation for the final Corellian vessel concluded successfully. As a gesture of newfound cooperation, the Corellian Empire, humbled by their defeat and impressed by Earth's mercy, had officially joined the Joint Galactic Initiative. On the observation deck of Unity Station, Ilara watched as representatives from now 13 species gathered for the formal treaty signing. What had begun as factions united against Earth had transformed into something unprecedented, a true coalition of civilizations with a common purpose. Admiral Oryx approached her, his earlier hostility replaced with grudging respect. "Your species continues to surprise us, Ambassador Voss. When we first detected the destruction of the Corellian fleet, we believed we faced a new galactic conqueror." "And now?" asked Ilara. Oryx's mandibles clicked, and what she had learned was his species' version of contemplative silence. "Now I wonder if the legends were right all along. The ancient texts speak of the Forerunners not as conquerors but as guardians, beings who seeded the galaxy with life, then disappeared to ensure that life would flourish independently. Only to return when needed most," finished Ilara. "Indeed." Oryx studied the distant construction of the network node. "Whatever your ancestors or descendants intended, you've accomplished something none of our civilizations managed in thousands of years of coexistence." "Which is?" "You've given us a purpose greater than survival, greater than dominance." Oryx gestured toward the gathered representatives. "For the first time in known history, the galaxy looks forward rather than backward." As the treaty signing concluded, Director General Ortiz activated the ceremonial linkage, a symbolic connection of the first network node to the ancient artifact that had started everything. Energy pulsed through the connection, and for a brief moment, the artifact projected a star map spanning the entire galaxy, with thousands of interconnected nodes forming a vast lattice. "This is only the beginning," Ortiz announced to the assembled dignitaries. "What we build today will serve generations yet unborn, across all our worlds." In the silence that followed, Ilara found herself thinking not of the past or the looming threat still hidden from their allies, but of the future they were creating. Humanity had emerged onto the galactic stage not as conquerors or victims, but as catalysts, the unexpected variable that transformed competition into cooperation. "To the network," offered Grand Administrator Kovacs, raising a ceremonial chalice, in the first interspecies toast ever recorded. "And to the species that reminded us of what we can accomplish together." As 13 different species raised their vessels in unity, Ilara caught Ortiz's eye across the chamber. They both knew, what the others didn't yet, that this alliance would face a test greater than any civilization had encountered before. But for the first time, she felt genuine hope that they might succeed where their descendants had failed. The galactic reaction to Earth hadn't been what anyone expected. Not conquest, not submission, but transformation. Humanity's true power hadn't been its recovered technology or its strategic deception, but something far more fundamental. The ability to imagine a different future and inspire others to build it together. And somewhere, in a future that might now never come to pass, the Forerunners who had sent their legacy backward through time witnessed the first ripples of change in the temporal continuum, the first indication that their desperate gambit had succeeded. The cycle that had ended in extinction countless times before had finally been broken. Humanity had fulfilled its purpose, not as conquerors of the galaxy, but as its unifiers.